Hi, Catherine. It's an honor to have you again, and I invited you to talk about destructive plasticity again, but this time also about aging,
Okay.
maybe from a perspective of destructive plasticity. So, destructive plasticity have been topic that you were working on for quite a while, and how would you define it today, and how your understanding of what is destructive plasticity or negative plasticity, how you call it sometimes, how it changed over time?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. Well, I think that we are at a moment in where destructive plasticity is at its extreme, because I always thought that creation and destruction were simultaneous. I always thought that, but for a long time, I also thought that this simultaneity could be, as Derrida would say, economized, which is that a certain dialectical relationship could help them to, let's say, negotiate with each other so that it's not too violent. But originally, the tendency of the real to develop itself, to construct itself, and at the same time to destroy itself um, is there. It's the origin of the real. And I always thought that the simultaneity between development in the economic sense and terrorism was two faces of the same coin. But today, I don't see where the dialectics can still operate. It's a mere opposition between those like us who try to resist, who try to remain plastic in the creative sense of the term, that is to see a future, to see a meaning in all that. And on the other hand, pure destructive trends uh, and wars, of course, the horrible wars that are on at the moment are the direct manifestations of that. So there's an urgency of trying to imagine. I don't see what other verb might be adequate. Imagine a kind of way to redialecticize the two. But at the moment, we are in the sheer opposition of creation and destruction.
So it's the coincidence of destruction and creation, which is strangely some kind of feminine uh, topic reoccurring. Is for some reason it's women who are talking about the destructive side of creation. It just, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, but there's something about women concentrating on the coincidence of two. But uh, the aging is a topic that is of interest for me in the framework of destructive plasticity, because it might be the most universal instance
Mhm.
of it. Unlike other instances like trauma, it might be something we can avoid. Well, not from psychoanalytic perspective, from Lacanian perspective, but in general. And aging is more universal until,
Yes.
unless one dies early enough. This is all we are going to go through. And you talk about aging in the ontology of the accidents as accident aging. So aging from a perspective not as
Mhm.
gradual something, but as a catastrophe, as accident.
Yes, I've seen that in my life, and we all know it can happen. You know, all these stories where someone wakes up in the morning with gray hair, all of a sudden. We've heard about these stories. Yes, and I took the case, well, I analyzed the case of Marguerite Duras, who herself says that she woke up one morning, not with gray hair, but with this face, I mean, this destructive face that she had while she was so beautiful when she was young. So yes, aging can be an accident under the blow of traumas or illnesses. But I would like to say, nevertheless, that aging per se is not destructive. It is not destructive. I remember what Bergson was saying when he compares life with a snowball. And he says aging is like making a snowball with oneself. That is, we accumulate not only years, because that would be destructive, but qualities, what he calls qualities, intensities. And I totally agree with that. Of course, it's destructive in the way that we are going towards death. But as as Heidegger says, the Dasein is always old enough to die. Anybody can die, even a child. So destruction is there from the beginning, and aging is not necessarily more destructive than other ages in life. I remember my teenage years were very destructive. So I think that nevertheless, medicine, I mean, everything that is supposed to help us aging, and particularly menopause, is a catastrophe. This is destructive. I can tell you that when I went through menopause, I had so bad hot flushes that my gynecologist gave me those hormones, the hormone therapy, and I got breast cancer because of that. So I'm fine now, but the doctor said it's because of that. I mean, it's very dangerous. uh. So I would say that everything that is supposed to help us with aging, not to talk about the senior home, or not to talk about, the nurses, the way people talk to us, uh, this is destructive
Mhm.
because there is no space for well-being, I mean, a true well-being for aging people.
Mhm.
It doesn't exist unless maybe if you're super rich and you can go, I don't know, to Switzerland. And even there, I'm not sure that the way people are treated is not more destructive than aging itself. You see what I mean? What is destructive in aging is that it's not recognized in our societies. Maybe in some tribes where there's a lot of respect for ancestors, but otherwise, I saw also my parents being totally destroyed in these hospitals or hospices. You know, this is what I think.
That's what Simone de Beauvoir is writing about, that
Hmm.
people are not treated the way they, except for Sartre, who was treated well, but everyone should be treated that way. And do you know this new term, queenager, for women? Women in their midlife are called
Hmm.
queenagers, and it's like together queen and teenagers, which is it implies that they
Interesting.
feel
Yes.
young again. There's this useful feeling. Maybe it also implies that they go through hormonal changes, like you claim you were destructive when you were a teenager, and but at this stage they're finally free. Well,
Hmm.
some of them are financially stable, but there's something about this actual teenager year that you can only afford somehow after you are 40. Um, Maybe it's also free from, I don't know, certain standards, social
Yes. Yes.
standards that.
It is true. It is true. I've been also through this kind of euphoria to be free from certain bodily. Yeah, it gives you a kind of second youth at the same time. But there are also the secondary effects. Well, some friends of mine didn't have them, but when you have them, they can be very strong and unpleasant. But all the therapies are absolutely terrible.
um, So queenager was the term that was never actually developed philosophically because it just
That's
emerged.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting because it implies that the time is not linear. It's like you both, and it implies non-coincidence of how old you actually are and how old you feel. And it's a strange feeling that after 40, I don't know, it might be for me, but you finally start to feel 18 properly, but you're not. And it's the strange coincidence that you maybe you can allow yourself to feel 18 finally, be free more or less, but you're not
You
18.
know, yes. Yeah, no, that's also, so that's another problem that is more, I would say, psychological and social. It is true that at 40, even at 50, you feel young. Yeah, it's true, because you feel liberated from many things, many things. If you are, as you said, financially stable, if you have a job, if you are successful in your job, if you have raised up your kids, and you're free from that duty, yes, you feel energized and young, and at the same time, there's this discrepancy that everybody looks at you as someone old or aging, and yeah, yeah, this is a challenge.
And
But
you
it's
finally,
interesting. It's interesting. This is not destructive. It's interesting.
it's maybe also that this is the age when your kids are normally growing up again not to need you in a role of mother,
Exactly. Hmm.
and your husbands are growing up sometimes, or you're
Exactly.
divorced. But and you finally can allow yourself to be who you're supposed to be. Some kind of this you over the trick of the nature that it played on you. And
Exactly.
menopause and perimenopause, well, it's horrible from what I know about perimenopause, but it's also, I think it feels like it's something you have to pay for freedom, even though horrible consequences with both having it and trying to fix it with any type of
Yeah,
uh,
you're right. I
therapy.
think it's a price to pay. I remember Beauvoir. She says it's the uh, irri definitive mutilation.
Mhm.
It's a mutilation, she says. It's interesting.
Well, everything in female life is, feels like it's also interesting to talk about phenomenology or temporality maybe of menopause because it's different from it feels different for me at this perimenopause from what Heidegger was talking in Being Towards Death. It's
Mm.
like for him it's more like abstract something and not actual embodiment of it, unlike
No,
uh,
I think Heidegger didn't care at all about these things. You know, I don't even know if he knew what a body was. But mm,
well, the same you claimed that it's same with Freud with the death drive, that it's too abstract sometimes, well, most of the time, that those figures or dimensions of destructive plasticity of actual dying or catastrophe is what Freud and Heidegger too, they were not able to get. Maybe partially because they are men, and maybe this um, perspective on human being. I think the feminine perspective is more like caring about human, and therefore it's more um, possible to notice suffering in a way, unlike in those abstract
uh,
concepts that are aimed to just
yes,
make
I agree
something.
with you, but I'm not sure that being a woman makes you more caring about other women, you know? I'm not sure because I'm always surprised at the violence that animates the interfeminine relationships. Unfortunately, I mean, there's, you're right, an indifference from men regarding our bodies, etc. But there's also a kind of mm, struggle between women. It's always the one who look younger. It's always the one who will be healthier. It's always, you know, even my best friends, to be totally honest, you know, there's this little competition. I still can do that. Oh, Catherine, I'm so sorry you can't do yoga anymore because of your knees. Me, you know, so I would be careful when it comes to women generosity.
I
I
hope
think it's
you.
another it's another side of the coin. It's not the masculine problem,
Mm,
but you know,
I hope you win the competition.
no, but you see what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's like there is this horror of coincidence that women are the worst in, but at the same time the best. There's some kind of coincidence of both. There is this saying that I think it's Russian one actually, that
Mm.
woman to woman is the house, a home, which is the way it's supposed to be. No one can be, men, I don't think they can be actual home for you. They just don't know.
Yeah.
What it does it mean to be home, but because women are also horrible in, I don't know, but it's absolutely a coincidence
Yeah,
of
you
the
may be
two.
right. But I remember precisely on the topic of menopause, I remember telling a few of my friends, oh, it's terrible. I have these horrible hot flushes. Me? No, I'm perfect. No, I don't feel them. It's So I don't know. I found, I mean, what I found destructive was that I didn't have anyone to talk to, really, outside the gynecologist. Nobody really understood. Yeah, it was difficult to share, you know.
There's another problem with medicine, how it's at the same time now the only place where we can suffer, show our suffering and our suffering being recognized, but it's also puts it places it in a strange framework of not actually caring, and
Yeah,
actually
but this
maybe
is exactly
psychology.
what I was saying in the beginning. Absolutely. They just have like techniques and medications that most of the time are inefficient and dangerous. There's no answer to the menopause problem, as far as I know, you know?
Also, so does it end? I don't know yet.
No,
I
but
don't
it's
know.
interesting that we talk about it because I think that now women start talking about it. It's very new. It's very
Mm.
new to recognize it as a problem. And so I think that if we go on talking about it, trying to share our experiences, nevertheless, it may change something.
Especially it's not recognized, well, all the feminine topics are not enough recognized within philosophy because we're scared to talk about it because it's not universal enough, even though it's very
Yeah,
universal. Men develop whole philosophy based on universalizing their
yeah, yeah,
experience.
exactly.
There's
But
supposed to
at the
be.
same time, I also think that men don't want to recognize their own menopause because I wonder if there's not a masculine menopause as well, you know, all these erection problems that they have at some point, you know, it's also there's also something like that in masculinity,
Mm.
but it's not said, you know, but I'm sure. So, you know, the term andropause,
Mm.
um, but this also is secret, you know.
Well, the standard human being, the subject of philosophy, is young and it's male.
It's
And
yeah, ageless and male, absolutely. But a
and
kind of male that does not coincide necessarily with the masculine reality, I would say.
not menopausal men.
Yeah, exactly.
One need to develop a version of a man that is going through menopause.
Exactly. No, but I'm sure that's it is the case. So it's
Mm.
not the same symptoms, of course, but there's something like that.
And this is where your concept of destructive plasticity might be actually helpful because it shows this other dimension of existence that it's not um, that much optimistic. Like at least it shows that there are other processes operating on life within life that are not graspable through non-menopausal man perspective.
Absolutely. Yes, totally. Hmm.
And also, do you know that there is this recent, it was very popular recently on social media, the research that shows that we're not aging in gradually, but we're aging in leaps around 40 and
Yes,
around
yeah,
60. And this
yeah.
is what, and I keep saying people that you were talking about accident aging a while ago. So it's not, there is only gradual dimension to it, something we tend to hold on to, but there is also catastrophic.
Catastrophic. Yes, yes. I've heard about that, like the two moments, 40 and 60. Yes. So I think aging participates in the two dimensions. Yes, I've always been certain of that. That's a gradual process and at the same time a leap, as you said, a leaping process. Absolutely.
So it's so strange that, and it's again, it might change this idea of being towards death if it's actual aging, something that it's the catastrophe happening uh, overnight twice, at least twice. This is what we know.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm, mm.
So it's strange because if it's law, if it's something universal that it's all your own body, suddenly there is this program in you. And of course, in science, they are trying to prevent it. But at the same time, there was this research recognizes is that your own body overnight, twice at least, is
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this
It's
horror
doing
for
these
you.
changes. Yeah, it's terrible.
And they thinking of it in terms of preventing it, probably, like everything in science is about preventing. And but maybe there is this dimension that it's there is something said, even maybe more said in trying to prevent certain things than in things that are happening. Like now, people would brag that they look younger than their
Oh, yes, of course. It's all
and
about that.
there's
Yeah.
something said about it still, but you're not going to look young. It's just
Yeah,
extending it
but this is
constantly.
another side of plasticity. Plastic surgery, there's plastic in plastic surgery. And we know that plastic surgery is both creative and disruptive.
Mhm.
The same mechanism of plasticity is also at work in plastic surgery. Um, I can't help finding that those faces that are supposedly younger are destroyed at the same time. That's very interesting.
Mhm. So this is the work. The plastic surgery is a work of destruction and creation.
Exactly.
Anything it's like your hormonal therapy. Anything that's supposed to fix at the same time has this other side to it. It at the same time also turns out to be destructive, and you just modifying this dialectic of destruction and creation. There is never a way, maybe
To
to
abolish it.
minimize it to a certain extent, but you can minimize a certain hormonal changes. You can minimize maybe hot flashes, but you get cancer, breast cancer
Yeah,
instead of it.
exactly.
It's like strange work of modifying.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think this, but as I said, I mean, politically speaking, the creation destruction is in its worst phase of opposition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can we think about aging as entropy?
No.
Why?
Well, if we look at the very old people in these homes, yes, certainly. But as I said, it's because of the environment. Um, no, aging is not necessarily entropy. No, no.
And your comprehension of aging, and you talk about your grandmother
hmm
with Alzheimer, and this is what how you started to develop probably,
hmm
or at least
hmm
it's this significant portion of your thinking of destructive plasticity comes from witnessing a person disappearing while alive, and this is caring perspective from this point of view. So do you think it can modify the idea how we're supposed to care for someone who
Yes,
is aging and
yes.
someone who becomes a stranger? What are your conclusions maybe about this caring for?
Um, First of all, I was, and my family as well, we were all very clumsy because we could not accept the new person that she had become. And so we were harassing her with questions like, do you remember me? Do you know who I am? Do you remember my name? Who are the most stupid questions you can ask a person with Alzheimer because they don't remember. So it created anxiety. She sometimes cried because it was a suffering. It was really painful. And because I worked a little bit on the question, I discovered that the only way to deal with these people is to play with them, to make them listen to music, to make them look at colors, and not to try to have a kind of rational dialogue. But for that, we need means. We need to totally transform the hospitals, the care homes. They have to become artistic places, museums almost. It would imply a total change of society. But at our levels, yes, I think we could try to understand that it is absolutely is the worst thing to do. I mean, trying to reinsert this person into a logical, rational discourse is the worst of all things.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
And this is psychoanalytic psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, current attitude, and it might be violent from what you say. And maybe the relatives, if you treat the person without trying to bring them back, it might be violence without recognizing this destructive plasticity. It might be not actually engaging with them, but saving your own, trying to save your own image and your own trauma to
that's the risk.
prevent.
That is the risk. I know, and this is also what I've written about. That there is a kind of strange mechanism of transference that you, in a certain sense, lend your own unconscious to the person. You can't do otherwise, like to project yourself in them. So there's always a risk of violence, I agree. But in my view, it is less violent than trying to, because we think we honor them if we still consider them rational people. But in fact, we destroy them even more.
Mhm.
It's not that we don't consider them rational people. We do consider them as rational people, but we know they have lost the capacity to speak and think like normally. And I think the biggest violence is to not be able to recognize that a rational person can have several metamorphoses, you know. Uh, yeah.
Right now, my mother is caring for her brother, my uncle, after stroke, who lost
Mhm.
capacity to speak almost. Somehow, he used to be engineer and quite intelligent person. He now only talks with swear words. And so I do share, and I'm caring right now for a teenager, and there is some similarities between those, maybe because the changes the family joke, it might be cruel, but it's only that it's only half on the of the uncle survived, and they're doing quite well. And my mother, I don't know, she performs amazing work of how hard it is, but still respecting and loving this new person. And with the teenager, you can say that even not even a half of the child survive. It's like the child is completely substituted for this new cruel person who just completely strange to themselves and completely strange to me. So this accepting someone as if they someone new who and mourning maybe the one who is lost forever, it's very important. And it might be cruel to look for this old person and
Yeah,
impose it. You cannot take
exactly.
care of them, and you cannot have this attitude as if you had for a child, the nice
Mhm.
cute child they used to be, or the uncle who used to be engineer and now just swearing really loud. um, Still learning to respect them in who they, in them being new to themselves and being scared of themselves, or
Yeah,
even not being able to be scared anymore, but just.
exactly.
And
It's
this
very
is.
hard, and maybe you were right. It perhaps it's implies more violence on our part because of this transference I was talking about. But at the same time, I think this is the most caring gesture.
Mhm.
Mm.
I was also thinking about true love as gerontophilia, which is a horrible term because it's sexualized like
What?
everything.
The what?
Gerontophilia is sexual
Ah, yes,
attraction to
gerontophilia.
elderly. And there is great actually movie about it, but because all the terms are, because of their sexualization, they're problematic to take it out of the context. But I'm thinking that maybe true love is always gerontophilia, meaning that you love person, not that you only aging with them, but you love them in this accident, in the possible transformation.
I'm very much like that. I've always been more attracted to people like that than to young people. Always. I perfectly understand
Well,
what you said.
it's very good for the future because if you love someone, this is where you end up. So you're lucky if this is your sexual preferences.
No, I wouldn't go that far, but true that I think that people who are accidented, let's say, are more interesting and more attractive. More attractive.
Mm.
Yeah. I wouldn't talk about sexual preference, but I mean, gerontophilia, it is interesting. That's, you're terrible.
Thank you. Not the first time.
That's very interesting. I hadn't thought of that. That's very interesting.
So there is something about we tend to think about love and care, and it's easy when and now the way they choose a partner, which with all the positive qualities, like you, it feels like you can choose someone or partner or friend or whoever, just person you are with in your life, and we choose it for their qualities without even understanding that those qualities are there to be lost. Like you change, you transform, and if you're engaged in the world enough, it means that you traumatize. So it's only very fragile. It's like there to disappear. And it's strangely that you're involved with the emotional work with the world, the qualities that we are so value in people. That also means that you probably will become numb soon. And
Yeah.
um, there's something also about people in certain age who I'm entering this stage where I'm very interested in animals, caring about animals. I don't know why it's this stage. Maybe when you try start to be fed up with people, and you only you only. I'm not there yet. I still love people, some of them. But there is something attractive about animals that you are finally, I don't know, finally a creatures that you're able to love and that love you back or don't love you back like cats, but still honest
Yes,
in
my
their,
cat loves me back.
or at least if they don't, they're honest in not loving back. And I'd really appreciate this
But
honesty.
precisely, I'm trying to accompany my cat, who's very um, old now, toward his own end, and it's very interesting. Animals also are aging, and this is very, very moving and interesting.
I know a person, she's from Ukraine and she has a cat. And uh, I know we all heard probably that cats take your stress away, when you stress. So this is the reason why she tries not to be too stressed,
Mhm.
because it will stress the cat, and the cat is aging and it's not doing great with health. So this is how there's something in between species
In
that
between,
we
exactly. Trans piece, yeah, exactly.
for
That's
some
very,
reason,
very
and we think that this is a failure when women stay with pets or cats or dogs, cats normally, after in their midlives. But this is a failure when you don't get to a man, you just get a pathetic
animal.
compensation for cat. But I'm thinking that why necessary? Cats are better in terms that it's in between species. It's more, I don't know, it's more profound link than within certain species. So it might
Mhm.
be beyond the underappreciated cats. You
Yeah,
can
that's
never
also very
form.
interesting. Yes. Yeah. But I think you can share something with an animal about aging. There's a kind of secret dialogue
Mm.
mhm, between the two processes of aging, human and animal.
My mother now in a stage where, well, she went through certain experience of losing pets, cats, and the especially pets that I gave her when I was a teenager. And now we transferred from a stage where she's warning me about mail to warning me about pets dying. Like there's no next
You have
generation.
pets yourself?
No, but I'm sharing pet with the cat with neighbors, and this is the only, well, it's another horror of being refuge that you cannot not even afford a cat. It's your human right to have, primarily human right to have a cat, your own cat. And now we cannot even afford cats anymore. It's like the trauma. Mm. But I have neighbors kind enough to share their their cat, which is even more
And
pathetic than
where are you in Ireland?
in Ireland. It's Cork, near
Cork?
Cork.
Yeah, I remember you got a position there, no?
I got a visiting position, so
Yeah,
I'm
but it's good. Yeah.
teaching death to Irish people who know much more about death than me. So I'm kind of learning. They pretend they don't. Um, so there anything else you wanted to talk and I didn't let you?
Well, I would like to talk about a war, but I have nothing to say, nothing interesting to say.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that
Yeah,
um,
I'm totally, as many people, of course, like many people, I'm destroyed myself by this situation, and I would like to talk about it, but I don't have the words,
Mm.
you know?
It's horrible how it started to be something like it changes in those over 3 years now that the war in Ukraine, well,
Mm.
the full scale war started, how world transformed. We kind of get used to it. There is not even,
Oh
it
yeah,
started to be not normalized and be,
totally.
and there is this numbness, universal numbness of even people, by the way, who are not in the epicenter, but close to it. It's just everyday routine now. There's also dark humor that people are capable of, which is also horrible. You cannot probably joke about it.
No, of course. Mm.
There is this strange, I'm normally opposed to this toxic positivity of
Mhm.
Western world that you
Yeah.
need to cheer up, everything is going to be okay, which now with the war completely collapsed. But there is new kind of positivity in Ukraine that I actually agree with is that they would tell you that because you're not dead, you don't have any, you have nothing to complain about. Like, what is your problem? You're still alive. So it's just very minimum requirements now of
It's,
being
it's
great.
terrible. Yeah.
It's not horrible until you're alive. So kind of other type of positivity which I wasn't ready for. It was
And
other thing.
how is your family? Is it in Ukraine?
My family in Ukraine, my mother and my uncle, and because of my uncle condition, they cannot leave Ukraine. But it's the
Mm.
part of Ukraine where it's not, well, everything everywhere is dangerous, but it's
Yeah.
more far away from Russia.
Mm.
But no one is safe enough from Russia
Of course.
in this world or something similar to Russia.
Mm. Well,
And with the problem of aging is also different because you're not allowed to complain anymore. So you're not allowed to be horrified because other horrors are happening. This
of
discrepancy
course,
between,
of course.
yeah, and it's inspirational for many Ukrainians to live long again to see Putin's dying. Like that's the main
Wonder if
inspiration.
this will ever happen.
Right. He was talking about living up to 150, I
Oh
think
my God.
in
I'm sure he
China.
takes medicine and have chips in his brain.
There's the rumor that is going on with Putin that it's first it's not just one Putin, but also that he everyone knows that he went through plastic surgeries and it's like cyborgs is someone else. There is some kind of horror of Putin not being embodied, but being like dispersed through um,
No.
mm, and
Avatar.
origin. Mm.
Mm.
And this is the horrible version of Putin. Putin actually, and everybody knows that in his early political career, he was completely great in terms of his orientation, being democratic, being completely
Yeah.
opposite, and even claiming that it's stupid to attack Ukraine, that no one would attack Ukraine. That was part of his political program. So opposite to what he is now. This the transformed evil Putin without being properly embodied and uh, aiming to live up until he's longer than each of us. It's like strange horror.
Mm. Well, It was a pleasure talking to you as always.
Thank you, Catherine.